Edge Designations, FRM Part 1, introductory video for the 2023 exam cycle. Let's get going straight away, and first and foremost, let me just introduce myself. I will be the lead instructor for the FRM program for 2023. My name is Russell Jude, and yes, of course, I would be an FRM charter holder. We've got CFA and Kaya as well. And the reason I get all those designations is not to sound fancy or clever, but just to let everybody know that, of course, that us at Edge Designations, which is a preferred prep provider, okay, we offer all of these designations, FRM, CFA, and Kaya. Okay, but the purpose of this video is more a discussion around FRM and the 2023 exam cycle. So just to get going straight away, I want to just let everybody know, those that are watching this video, what you can expect. We are going to break this video down into two parts. Number one, it's going to be related to FRM stroke GARP. GARP is, of course, the governing body of FRM, and they will be administering your exam, etc. So I want to talk first and foremost about FRM, GARP, the exam, what you can expect, the syllabus, etc. But of course, that's much more related to FRM itself. And number two, I want to talk about ourselves, Edge Designations, as a prep provider, what our programs are and what we can offer you, etc., going into the 2023 exam cycle. Let's get going straight away. First and foremost, we'll be talking about FRM, GARP, and the exam. So let's get straight into that. And first and foremost, let's just talk a little bit about the exam itself. So firstly, just to remember, of course, and this is the same across all designations as we stand now going into 2023, the exam is going to be what we call CBT. CBT is computer-based testing. All of the designations have moved this way, and of course it's the way of the future. And COVID, I think, to an extent accelerated that process a little bit. But yes, everybody is writing completely CBT, and it makes no difference whether you're writing FRM Part 1 or whether you're writing Part 2. Both of those will be computer-based testing. Okay, hopping straight into that, let's have a quick look, just for those that are looking when to write their exams. And what I'm going to do very briefly is let's just put up the various exam dates for both FRM Part 1 and Part 2. I'm sure everybody's fully aware, to get the FRM charter, you need to pass both exams, Part 1 and Part 2. So just to have a quick look over here, interestingly, both Part 1 and Part 2 write 3 times in 2023. There will be a May writing, there's an August writing, and there will also be a November writing as well. What you notice, okay, when you go on the website and you're looking to register, okay, the FRM website, what you'll notice is that the exams operate within exam windows. Previously, when it was PBT, when it was paper-based testing, the exams were on a specific day, when everybody wrote on the same day. Now that we've moved towards computer-based testing, let's have a look over here. May, it'll be the 6th to the 19th of May. Wow, look at that large range of window. FRM Part 2 will then continue from the 19th of May, start on the 20th to the 26th of May. August is an interesting one. I'm just going to change color to make it nice and easy to see. Look at that. 5th of August, one day. No window here. Part 2, 5th of August. No window here either. The only thing that they do tell us over here, that the 5th of August, Part 1 will write in the morning and Part 2 will write in the afternoon. And I'll talk to you a little bit about why that is. We then move across to the November writing, and we go back to normal in the sense you've got a large range window, 4 to the 17th of November for Part 1, and then Part 2 continues 18th to the 24th of November. Okay, and those are your exam windows. Now, why do we work in exam windows? Reason is, having moved to computer-based testing, there are not enough computers or computer centers to accommodate everybody on the same day. So what they do is they get a bit of a range of dates in which you can write. It's important to remember, of course, guys, that when we look at these various exam windows, let's talk about the very first one, the May window for part 1, 6th to the 19th. Okay, remember, when you register for your FRM exam, remember you need to book yourself also an exam date. So when you register, you're going to have a choice. Well, when would you like to write? You've got anywhere between the 6th to the 19th of May, okay, for the part 1, guys. Now, which date would you choose? Well, I'm sure most guys are going to try and get as late as possible in the cycle, okay, within the window, and probably try and go for the 19th of May, the very last day, if they could. Just remember, okay, the earlier you register, first of all, the lower the fee, because you get the early registration fee from GARP, from FRM, but also, okay, you get to choose your date. The later you register, that window fills up quite quickly, okay, and you will get a date that perhaps is not as feasible, perhaps not what you would have liked. Okay, same thing for part 2. When we move, just a quick word before we move on to just a little bit of a discussion on the August window. But looking at the May window, look at the dates. You go 6th to the 19th of May, and then part 2. And this video is not about part 2, it's only about part 1, but I need to mention part 2 just to give you a fuller picture, is when you now look at part number 2, FRM part 2, remember, you've got to pass part 1 and part 2 to get the FRM charter, okay? Why did they start on the 20th? Why don't they run part 2 concurrently with part 1 and also start on the 6th of May? The reason for that, of course, is because you can write both exams within the same window, if you so choose. Is that advisable? Well, it's only for the brave, because it's a massive undertaking, but you could. In other words, what you would do is you would write your exam, part 1, within that first window between the 6th and the 19th of May. Then you can also write part 2 in May 20th to the 26th. You pick a date into that window. And that's why you can see they run at completely different times. So you write the first part and then the second part. The risk that you run, of course, okay, and it's a bit of an interesting risk, of course, okay, but you are studying risk, so well, here we go, is what happens, for example, if you decide to write both exams, part 1 and part 2, in May. Okay, for some weird reason, you pass part 2, but you fail part 1. Doesn't help you at all. You go back to part 1, and you have to write both again. Okay, what happens if you pass part 1 and you fail part 2? Well, that's okay. You've got part 1 behind you. What happens if you fail both? Okay, well, that's just a bad set of circumstances for you, and then you need to rewrite both as well. So there's a bit of a risk writing both together. I don't suggest it. I generally tell the guys, write part 1, pass part 1, and then go on to part 2. There's a bit of a link from part 1 to part 2, and there we go. Okay. And that's why you can see, that's why I needed to mention that when we look at the August windows, it's 5 August AM. You can write it first. And then what do you have to do in the afternoon? You come back and you write another paper. If you decide to write part 1 and part 2 in the same window, being August, well, you'll have a very, very busy 5th of August. You'll write for 4 hours in the morning, and you'll write for 4 hours in the afternoon. Okay, there we go. November, we look at the November window. The November window almost reverts back a little bit to the May type window with large ranges for you to write in. You've got the 4th to the 17th of November and the 18th to the 24th of November for part number 2. Okay, so those are your exam windows. Let's talk a little bit about your exam itself, and I'm going to really talk predominantly about part 1. Let's talk about the exam itself. Okay. So the exam itself, it's a complete MCQs. The entire exam is only multiple choice questions. Okay, how many do you get? Okay, you get 100 multiple choice questions, and your range goes, there's an A, a B, a C, and a D. There's 4 choices available. Of course, pick the best one. Good news, of course, for those that have been through some of the more rigorous university or varsity or college courses, where sometimes the multiple choice exams carry negative marking here. There's no negative marking, so whatever you decide to answer, if you don't know the answer, just guess. Why? Because there's no negative marking, and you may well guess the right one. Okay, and that's what your exam looks like. In terms of timing, okay, well, you've got 4 hours. We'll put this as our numerator. 4 hours, okay, is 240 minutes. I'm going to put that as my numerator. You've got 100 MCQs. The maths is relatively easy to work out. You've got 2 minutes and 24 seconds per MCQ. Now, is that quick? Well, it doesn't look so quick. You think 2 minutes 24 is almost 2.5 minutes an MCQ, but those that are coming from other designations, perhaps CFA and perhaps Kaya. CFA, I'll just put them over here for you, gives you 90 seconds per MCQ, and Kaya is less generous at 72 seconds a multiple choice question. However, Kaya, we don't want to mean to say anything bad about any of the designations. They're not generous, but their questions are much shorter than the FRM questions. FRM questions are a bit longer, a bit more detailed, and a bit more complicated. Hence, you've got 2 minutes 24 seconds. And the general experience of the guys writing FRM, okay, is that you've got to really move through this exam. It's not quick and easy to finish, and they're not being generous at 2 minutes, overly generous at 2 minutes 24. You can finish in that time, of course you can, but you've got to really push through this exam. It's 100 MCQs. They're longish MCQs for the most part, and you've got 4 hours in which to write that. Okay, that's a little bit about the exam. Okay, what I want to do now, I'm going to carry on that chatting a little bit more. I want to talk now. I'm just going to change this particular slide that we are on, and I want to just move to the syllabus. Okay, I want to make this just a little bit bigger so we can all see it nicely. Make that a bit bigger. There we go. I hope you can all see that. What I've given you over here, and I just for about 5 minutes, I just want to talk a little bit twofold. Number one, what's in the FRM Part 1 syllabus. And number two, if you are or have been in the program before, okay, perhaps 2022, what are your changes for FRM Part 1 if you didn't make it for 2023? Okay, we have a look over here. FRM Part 1 breaks down into 4 books. Okay, let's talk about the various books. Book number 1, Foundations of Risk Management. And interestingly, whenever we address this particular book, we call it FRM, but that's the Foundations of Risk Management. It's a 20% book. What does it mean if we say it's a 20% book? Well, a 20% book is the weighting that it's going to get in your exam. Again, we know that in your total exam there are 100 multiple choice questions, and if that were so, 20% weighting would attract, you can expect 20 questions from the FRM section in your exam. Not a crazy section, the very first one. Guys like to try and score as many marks as they can on this particular book, book number 1, called Foundations of Risk Management. It's generally quite theoretical, and I will talk a bit about the exam in a second as well, what you can expect there. We move down a little bit to book number 2, which is called the Quantitative Analysis book. Again, it's a 20% book. Again, you can expect 20 marks over here, MCQs. Candidates tend to struggle with this one a little bit as it goes quite detailed into specific quants. We deal with things like, if you have a look over here, probabilities involved over there, hypothesis, random variables, linear regression. We go down to time series, stationary and non-stationary, correlation, volatility, simulation, bootstrapping. So we go quite detailed into quants. Those that have got an existing quant background would find this a little bit easier. Perhaps if you don't have a quants background, this might present a challenge, but with a little bit of work, you will be fine. Interestingly, and as I mentioned a bit earlier, I will talk about this. We talk about the changes from 2022 to 2023, perhaps if you are writing this one again. There are 2 new readings, and both of them interestingly find their way into the QA, the quantitative analysis section. And what you've got over here, you have got machine learning methods and machine learning and prediction. Those are your 2 new readings. Those are the only 2 new readings that we found in FRM Part 1 2023, and they're lovely readings. They're new, they're fresh, very topical, of course. Machine learning, big data, all that kind of good stuff is, of course, very out there at the moment. So some lovely new readings given to us by FRM. Book 3 is FMP, Financial Markets and Products. Okay, Financial Markets and Products. This is the 30% book. Okay, 30 MCQs. I like to call this book the derivatives book. It's not only derivatives, there's some interest rates in here as well, things like that. Okay, a bit of bonds and stuff like that. But typically it's your derivatives, forwards, futures, swaps, and options. Some lovely stuff coming through over here in the FMP Financial Markets and Products section. Not an easy one. Last book, book number 4, is the VRM, Valuations and Risk Models. A lot of the modeling comes in here. Okay, you're going to find, again, 30%, 30 MCQs. If we had to sum those up, you'll say, okay, well, there are my 100 MCQs. What you find over here in this particular book, we introduce things like value at risk as a risk model. We do credit, we do operational risk. It's a very mixed kind of book. Interest rates are in here as well. And we conclude, interestingly enough, with the 2 big models that relate to options, which are the BSM, the Black-Scholes-Merton model, and the binomial options pricing model. So there's a bit of options in book 4 as well, valuations and risk modeling. That is basically what you can expect from FRM Part 1, your syllabus. 4 books, 20% for the introductory book. Let's go have a quick look again. Foundations of Risk Management. 20% for QA, quantitative analysis. And then 30% for book 3 and 4, Financial Markets and Products. We call that our derivatives book. And then Valuation Risk Models, book 4, which is a 30% book as well, making up your 100%. Changes 2022 to 23, really just in quantitative analysis, where we start to have a little bit of a look into machine learning. Nothing too crazy, nothing too difficult. What I want to do just for a few minutes is just to describe to you how FRM likes to ask their questions in the exam. Very important, very, very important, because what we see over here when you look at the particular syllabus, okay, and we can count them, okay, 11 readings, chapters, topics over there, another 15 over there, taking us to 26, 20 readings, what they call topics, for financial markets and products, taking us to 46, and another 16 for valuation risk models. In total, wow, 62 topics, 62 chapters. Now, what you might be inclined to say is, okay, well, there's 100 MCQs, there are 62 topics, 62 chapters. Okay, well, it looks around about 1.5 to 2 questions then per topic. Okay, that's not the correct calculation. Okay, and I'm going to illustrate that to you. I'm going to go into a brand new slide over here. Let's have a look over here. It's an older slide. Okay, it's from 2022. Let's make it just a little bit bigger. It's from 2022, but GARP haven't yet released the 2023 practice exam, so I couldn't work on that one yet to be able to give you. It'll obviously come out in the near future, but in the meantime, we're going to work with 2022. It's as good and as illustrative. Now, just some illustrations, and I'm not going to spend too much time on here, but I just want to illustrate my point quite clearly. Now, what did we say a little bit earlier? Foundations of Risk Management. It's the FRM book. It's the 20% book. That's 20 multiple choice questions. Nothing too difficult there. And if you look over here, there's approximately 10 topics, 10 sections, 20 questions, 10, 11 sections. You expect two questions per topic per section. Doesn't work like that. Look over here. FRM 2 and 3, how do firms manage financial risk and governance risk management? No questions. Now keep in mind, of course, this is an FRM practice paper. So is this what your exact exam will look like? Is this the exact format? No, it's a guide. And we take no responsibility if they don't give you your exam in this exact format. this is typically how it works. The practice paper issued by GARP, which of course you guys will all be entitled to a copy of, gives us an indication, we get one as well as prep providers, gives us an indication of what the exam is likely to look like, at least in terms of its format. So just keep in mind, this is not the actual exam, this is not gospel by any means. I'm giving you just a guide, some direction. But what you notice, FRM 5, MPT and CAPM, and of course anyone that studied finance will know MPT, Modern Portfolio Theory and Finance, and the CAPM as well, is massively important. And look what they do in your exam, practice paper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 questions from one topic. So what you notice, guys, is that GARP, when they examine and you get your final 100 questions in your May/August/November exam, we don't know what's coming up, but what we do know is that not all topics are created evenly or examined evenly. Okay, and you can see there, topic 5, Modern Portfolio Theory, CAPM, gets a massive weighting. Let's move to quantitative analysis, and what do you notice? Common univariate variables gets a big weighting. We move to book 3, futures for hedging, big stuff, financial forwards and futures, properties of options. Can you see as we go through it? I'm not going to spend too much more time here. DVO1, applying duration convexity, 5 questions over there. So as we move through the particular sections, you can see quite clearly, okay, that GARP does not examine evenly, and you can expect, okay, that you will get more questions on certain topics than others. Now, is your exam technique then, oh, look over here, I see when I do my analysis that there was no questions on external or internal credit ratings, there was no questions over here on country risk determinants, and no questions on measuring credit risk. So what would you conclude? Credit risk is not important, and I'm not going to study it. Bad strategy, because we don't know this. As I say, this is just purely a guide, and of course credit is vitally important. Credit makes up 20% of FRM Part 2, by the way, credit risk, so no, don't leave it out. What we are saying perhaps is that if you are running short of time, or you want to try and plan your heaviest study sessions where you're going to put the most amount of focus, yes, use this as perhaps a bit of a guide, but not as gospel, please, and not as anything that you can say, well, okay, Edge told us to leave out credit. No, Edge didn't tell you that, and please don't do that. Okay, just a guide, but really what is important, and this is the key takeout that I want you to take out from this particular slide, is that when they do examine you, okay, at FRM, they don't examine all 62 topics evenly. And the reason you say, well, where's the other 2 over here? You've only shown us 60 here. Remember, you've got your 2 new topics on machine learning for 2023. This is a bit of an older slide. We haven't yet got the details for 2023 yet, so I couldn't update the slide yet. We will in the future as we get access to the 2023 exams. Okay, practice exams. And last but not least, we've spoken enough. Hopefully I've given you enough information at this point in time surrounding the particulars around the FRM and the GARP exam. What I want to do is just to spend I'll just delete all of this, the last 5 minutes of this particular presentation, and just talk a little bit about ourselves. Always nice to talk about yourself, about Edge, okay, and what we can offer to you. Okay. As I said a little bit earlier, we are at Edge Designations. We are a prep provider to the 3 major designations, FRM, CFA, and Kaya. For 2023, at this point in time, we have got 5 options available to you. Okay. We've got an online option. We'll talk about that more in detail. We've got what we call a revision and exam option. Okay. We've got a QBank for you, those that just like to do questions. Okay, we've got just a notes package for those that just prefer notes, and number 5, purely an exams offer. Okay, let's just talk very briefly about what you can get in each package of our 5 packages, and which one perhaps would be best suited for you. Number 1, the online option is the most extensive of our options. And what you get in the online option, you get a complete set of notes on the entire syllabus. You get a complete set of videos on the entire syllabus. You also get a QBank, and you get a formula sheet as well. So it's quite comprehensive. Most of the candidates take up this option. If you wish to do a complete study package with us at Edge, that will be your option, the online option. Notes, videos, question bank, and formula sheet. What you do notice over here, and I just want to talk about these very briefly, the notes and the videos are comprehensive. They deal with every single learning outcome from start to finish. Every single topic you get, we guide you through the entire set of FRM Part 1 syllabus, videos, and notes. Of course, there is a question bank as well, and a formula sheet. Yes, you do need to know the formulas as well. Just an interesting one, okay. This option 1, is a comprehensive option. Okay, it's got everything in it. What we then did is we broke this down a little bit further, okay, and the QBank as well. Now, if you want a QBank, okay, you can buy that individually, but just remember, if you buy the online option, okay, you don't need to buy the QBank because you've got that one already. Okay, again, same story. If you want notes only, we'll go and buy notes only as per option 4. But again, if you buy the online option, no need to buy the notes because they are all inclusive in option 1. What we just did is to give you a little bit more availability, a little bit more kind of like a la carte menu if you just wish to buy specifics from us, like a QBank, notes, or things like that. Okay, but if you buy option 1, the online option, you get everything in there as well. What don't you get? Okay, what you don't get, I'm going to change color over here, is you don't get revision and exam. What is included in the revision and exam? Option number 2, you get round about 20 hours of revision video. In other words, we take you through the entire syllabus again in revision format. The videos for option number 1 are approximately 60 to 70 hours. So you can see they're much more extensive. The videos for option 2, which is a revision option, it's 20 hours, taking you through again through the entire syllabus. You get videos, you get revision notes as well, okay, and you also get 3 practice exams. Okay, so that revision exam program, a lot of guys take that up closer towards exam time, okay, where you can do a full revision of the syllabus, you get a complete set of notes, and you get 3 exams as well. Option number 5, again, what do you notice? There we go, there's the exams. If you buy option 2, revision and exams, no, don't go and buy the exams as a standalone. If you buy the exams as a standalone, option 5, well, then you won't get the revision videos and the revision notes. That's part of the revision program over there. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an indication of what Edge designations as a prep provider can give you. We've got everything that you need, okay? And I often get the question, well, what if we want everything and we want to be completely prepared and ready for the exam? I say, well, then you need to buy the online option, which will take you through all the way till around about a month before the exam, 5 weeks before the exam. And then you also buy the revision exam program. You buy both of those, okay, you will be completely covered because you've got a complete set of notes, videos, and questions. And then as exam time comes, we move you into the revision mode. We revise the syllabus again, and we give you practice papers to do as well. Okay, that then brings us to a conclusion of our presentation, and I will leave you with just a few details just in case you wish to get into contact. Okay, let me give you my email address. I head up the program. It's russellj@ebs.co.za, and if you wanted our web address, okay, it's a bit more of a mouthful, but it makes sense because that's what we do. We do designation, so it's Edge designations.com. Okay, I suppose I should put 3 W's there just to make it a www. That is us. That's Edge designations. Hopefully, as we come to the conclusion of this particular presentation, you guys have got an interesting sense, a decent sense at least, about what we can offer you, what the exam is going to be made up of, what your exam will look like, and what Edge can offer you as a prep provider. Best of luck for the FRM exam, no matter when you write, May, August, or November. Best of luck from Edge, and go out there and get it done.